Hello, First Baptist. This week, our study of the essential Jesus brings us to the story of the wedding at Cana in John chapter 2, a turning point in the life and ministry of Jesus, where Jesus performs his first miracle by turning water into wine. It's a simple story, and at first glance, you might be guilty of thinking that it's a pretty weak opener for Jesus' public ministry. And luckily for us traditional Baptists, we can relax because the story isn't about wine or Jesus' ability to keep a good party going. This event in the life of Jesus is more than a miracle, it's a sign. In his gospel, John recounts 7 signs that are representative of the many miracles of Jesus, and within each of the 7 signs is a revelation of Jesus' divinity. Every detail discloses a different facet of the gospel. These signs mark points in time where Jesus causes the divine and the common to intersect, where Jesus points away from earth and towards a heavenly reality. So as we're reading the Gospel of John, we should consider each of these signs as a stop sign and ask ourselves, what does this show us about Jesus? And what is this sign pointing to? In his commentary, John for Everyone, N.T. Wright asks this probing question: how might this sign theology transform our attitudes about and understanding of God's provision in our own lives? When God blesses you, when you see his extraordinary hand moving in creation, we should stop and express our gratitude, but we shouldn't stop there. Sit with your blessing and consider what it's pointing to. What is God revealing about himself through his blessing? What is he teaching you about his kingdom? As you read through this week's Pastor's Cut, you'll quickly see that there is a lot going on in these 11 verses, so don't hesitate to dig in and discover the truth within the details that John was inspired to include. Everything has a purpose. Notice that the jars used as the vessels to hold the fine wine were jars that had been set aside for purification. They would be filled with spring water so that the guests could purify themselves according to the law before participating in the feast. Jesus orders the jars to be filled, and through this Jewish ritual, he creates something new. He doesn't replace the law, but he fulfills it. This sign of God's abundant grace comes from God's special relationship to the Jewish people, and the jars that represent that relationship overflow with grace upon grace with the appearance of Jesus in the world. Also take note of the servant's inclusion in the miraculous work. Jesus easily could have accomplished this sign on his own. He invited the servants into this work so that they could share in the blessing. Because of their obedience, they were able to share in the joy in a way that no one else at the wedding was invited to experience. Because notice that the hosts and the marrying couple had no idea that this miraculous event even took place. They were blessed beyond measure, saved from shame and humiliation despite being in a predicament of their own making. Not only were they saved from embarrassment, but because of the fine quality of the wine, their guests were probably singing their praises. What gifts and blessings are being poured into our lives without us even knowing it? So these are some things that you can consider this week as you prepare your lesson and things you can talk about with your class. Be blessed, and we'll see you on Sunday.